Hello and welcome back to the Azerbaijan YouTube channel. It is Harry here, and today it is time for a scientific experiment of sorts. Although, if you're looking for science on this channel, this is not the place for it because, well, I got 2 A's at Science GCSE, and that's probably the greatest achievement of my life because I am atrocious at science. But of course, it is a scientific experiment revolving around football, as there is a hypothesis, a method, and a conclusion. It concerns quite a topical discussion actually, because it was only 3 days ago that the final game of the domestic calendar, the Championship playoff final, took place between Brentford and Fulham, with Fulham ending up victorious. I thought whilst watching that game, why not go through the history of the playoffs and find some interesting stats about it and see what various things have ended up being like. You might be surprised to know that the playoffs actually existed when the second division was first created in 1892. Under the name of test matches, they took place between the bottom 3 in the first division and the top 3 in the second division as a one-off game, with first and second tier playing last in the first tier, and so on and so forth. In 1895 it was changed to a group stage format, with 2 teams from each division taking part. Each team would play each other once, and the top 2 teams would go up or stay in the first division, dependent on where they were at that time. However, they were scrapped in 1898 after Burnley and Stoke, safe with the knowledge that the draw would put them both in Division 1 for the next season, played out the drabbest of drab 0-0 draws, essentially not even attempting to have a shot on goal, and resorting mostly to kicking the balls into the crowd, who, disgruntled as they were, often refused to give it back in protest of the players' actions. The Football League decided as a result of that game to scrap them completely. However, for the 1986-87 season, the Football League decided to bring them back as a result of the monetary gain. Sorry, I mean the entertainment value, obviously nothing to do with money whatsoever. I'm disregarding that season as well as 1987-88 for the purposes of this video, as those 2 seasons included a side from the higher tier and 3 from the lower tier. Whereas from 1988-89, it was set to 4 teams from the to be promoted tier alone. I've also disregarded the seasons where the positions from the playoffs differ from normal, those being 1990-91 and 1994-95, to try and make it as fair in an experiment and analysis as possible. So what I'm going to investigate are a few different stats about the playoffs, such as which position has seen the most promotions via the playoffs in each division, i.e. which is the best position to finish in order to have a higher chance or likely a chance of getting promoted, as well as the closest and furthest out points to the final promoted side from the team who eventually went up. Furthermore, I will also reveal which teams have gone up the most through the certain league's playoff system, and which teams have also failed the most. That may sound convoluted, I am very much aware of this, but it will become much clearer as the video progresses. I do promise that. Also, I know that each of the divisions went through separate name changes during the course of my survey, but for the sake of continuity and consistency, I'm going to refer to each of them by the names we know them as today, i.e. the Championship, League 1 and League 2. Starting off with the Championship, the most successful side is Crystal Palace, who have won it 4 times to date, namely 1989, 1997, 2004 and 2013. Their last to-date season in the Championship. On the flip side, the teams who have lost the most are Ipswich Town and Derby County, who have fallen short of the promised land on a record 7 occasions through the playoffs. But whilst Derby lost the final 3 times, Ipswich have only actually entered the final once and did win it. But in every other time that they've got to the semi-final stage, they didn't even make it to the Wembley showpiece, or the Millennium Stadium showpiece, depending on when they qualified. Upon starting research for this video, I thought 4th place would be the position which had seen the most promoted sides. My reasoning behind this was that I thought that 3rd place would normally have only just missed out on promotion, and therefore having expended all their energy trying to get promoted but just falling short, it would mean that they wouldn't go up as they couldn't sum up that last little burst of energy to get them into the promised land. And 4th, normally a bit further behind but comfortably in the playoffs, wouldn't have the same psychological burden of just missing out on promotion, so they would be more energised going into battle. Unfortunately, my theory was completely proven wrong. 4th place is, historically speaking, the worst position to finish if you want to get promotion via the playoffs, as only 5 4th place teams have gone up from the Championship. However, there is a technicality, as Swindon in 1990 did win the playoff final after finishing in 4th, but they suffered financial irregularities and were therefore barred from promotion. Sunderland, 6th but losing finalists, took their place, meaning I counted Sunderland in 6th to be the playoff winners for that season, and not Swindon. As such, 6 6th place sides have gone up, and 9 of the teams who finished in 5th ended up in the Premier League. Unfortunately for my theory, the most frequent position of teams being promoted is 3rd, as 10 sides since 1989, excluding of course the 2 aforementioned seasons of 1990-91 and 1994-95, went up after finishing in 3rd. My theory clearly has been blown to smithereens. The Championship was the only division out of the 3 surveyed which never saw second and third level on points when third place side went up through the playoffs, with the closest gap being in 1989, as Crystal Palace missed out on automatic promotion to Man City by just 1 point, but went up via the playoffs anyway. Only twice did second and third have to be separated by goal difference, that being in 1993 with Portsmouth and in 2016 with Brighton, and, as you might have guessed, neither team went up. The most distant gap between the eventual playoff winners and second place was Blackpool in 2010, who finished a staggering 21 points off second place West Brom and a massive 32 points behind champions Newcastle. To put that into context, the latter points difference is the same points difference between Manchester United in 3rd and Watford in 19th in the Premier League this gone season. Unsurprisingly, that is the biggest points difference across all the divisions that were surveyed, and Blackpool are the team with the fewest points to go up from the Championship, as they only accrued 70, just scraping past the 1.5 points per game average. The most is Charlton and Fulham in 1998 and 2018 respectively, as both achieved 88 points in their respective seasons, although Charlton, interestingly enough, didn't finish in 3rd. Instead, it was Sunderland who finished in 3rd, and their 90 points is the most by a team not to win promotion from the Championship, be it automatically or via the playoffs. At this point, the word playoffs is just a noise in my head. I'm sure it is for you as well, but don't worry, there are plenty more mentions of it yet to come. Moving down into League One, there are 4 sides who have won the playoffs twice, namely Walsall, Peterborough, Huddersfield and Millwall, in order of when they achieved that feat, but none more than them. Perhaps even more impressively, the least successful team in the League One playoffs are Brentford, who have tried their luck 7 times but haven't gone out once by that method. Of course, they have been promoted automatically before, hence why they just lost the Championship playoff final to Fulham, but never through the playoffs. Once again, my theory was dispelled in terms of positions of the teams who went up, as 4 went up in 5th, which was the lowest tally, 7 who went up in 4th, 8 in 6th, and 11 in 3rd. It is important to know that I am including this season just gone in my list, when 3rd place Wycombe went up, although they were in 3rd on the points per game method enforced on Leagues 1 and 2 after their seasons were cancelled as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. However, I'm not including it in the stats of fewest points or closest/furthest gap between second and the eventual playoff winners, because the season wasn't completed, so it would be a bit unfair to do so. Port Vale in 1989 were level on points with Sheffield United, but went up through the playoffs anyway, meaning that was the closest gap between the promoted side and the one who eventually finished as the winners in the playoffs. The furthest out was Rotherham in 2018, as despite finishing in 4th, they were a massive 17 points behind Blackburn in 2nd, although if Charlton had gone up, they would have held that record, as they finished a staggering 25 points behind the automatic promotion spots, yet still, somehow, finished in 6th. The lowest points tally of a team who went up by the playoffs was a tie between Sheffield Wednesday in 2005, Grimsby in 1998, who interestingly enough finished in 3rd, and Barnsley in 2006, all of whom achieved a miserly 72 points, but still went up a league. By contrast, Preston achieved 89 points in 2015 and ended up succeeding in the Wembley Showpiece, the most by a team who went up through this method. However, Sheffield United won 1 more point than that in 2012, yet lost on penalties to Huddersfield in the final, meaning that they hold the unenviable record of the most points in a League One season, yet not be able to find the promotion-winning formula. Dropping down another tier to League 2, we find ourselves with yet another inclusion for Blackpool in this video, and there's another one for them yet to come, as they have won the playoffs from League 2 a record 3 times. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Lincoln City, who have qualified 6 times but failed to go out once by that route. In League 2, my theory finally held up, as 4th place sides have achieved the most promotions through the playoffs, although it falls down completely when you realise that the top 3, and not the top 2, go up to League 1. So therefore, of course, 4th is the closest position to the automatic promotion spots. Regardless, a staggering 13 4th place sides have gone up, followed by 7th with 7. It's important to note that Northampton, this season's playoff winners, finished in 7th as a result of the points per game system implemented by the EFL on League 2, 6th with 6, and 5th with 4. In terms of the stat of points discrepancies, Huddersfield finished level on points with Torquay in 2004, but were able to sum up one last successful push in the playoffs that season. Unlike Bury and Accrington Stanley, who missed out on goal difference in 2009 and 2016 respectively, but ended up staying in League 2 after losing in the playoffs. Blackpool, featuring for the 4th and final time in this video, once again hold the record for the most points between the final promoted side and the playoff winning side, as they ended up 15 points behind the 3rd place team in 2017. As there are 4 teams promoted from League 2 and not 3 as is the case with League 1 and the Championship, it is perhaps unsurprising that their highest playoff winning points tallies is the lowest of the 3 divisions, as Southend achieved 84 points in 2015 and still went up. However, Accrington Stanley in that ill-fated 2016 season won 85 points but failed in the playoffs, giving them the unwanted distinction of the team with the most points accrued in a League Two season not to go up. Similarly, the fewest points accrued was also the lowest across each of the three divisions, as Stevenage in 2011 and Brentford in 2013, the season in which they reached the League Cup final, won just 69 points, ooh, cheeky, for the 1.5 points per game average, and maybe as a reward for achieving such an incredible points tally, they won in the playoffs. So there you go, a completely random video about the playoffs and its various stats and all that kind of stuff, but if you enjoyed this video for whatever reason, don't forget of course to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and comment down below with what you think I should maybe do a scientific experiment on in football next, because I'm more than willing to give a load of different ideas a try, but of course it's up to you guys as much as it's up to me. So let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you then.